Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry. Got Max and David here after a rather exhausting Arsenal reaction segment where if all of us smoked, we would have gone outside for cigarettes. But I don't. Instead, I keep my pain in here, and I put it in a little ball to where it eats ulcers in my belly. That's how it works. So guys, this section is dedicated to the people we blame. All right, we've had a season. It's a shitty season. It's a season of shit, and so we need to. Who's responsible? Who are we pointing the finger at here? All right. So
maybe we should do it ourselves. This is our first year, and we've been absolutely shit. Maybe we need to knock the podcast on the head.
Look, blame the Toffee Blues.
Yeah, it's not our fault.
You know what? We weren't doing this during Martinez years, David. You know what I mean?
No.
It was crap before. So I'm gonna go down the list of players that players and people that I've heard blamed on social media and on different forums out there. Okay. So let's begin with someone who a video was circulating recently on Twitter of him kind of slowly jogging back and trying and kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to stop that shot. No. He's lucky he didn't go on goal because it would have made everybody livid, but everybody's still pissed. Morgan Schneiderlin, how has this guy changed from last season? What the hell happened? Morgs. Yeah. How much do we blame Morgan Schneiderlin? Because a lot of people are immediately blaming him for a lot.
I feel whenever we're overrunning the midfield, there's usually aspects of his performance that you can question. When particularly the last game was a key example of being overrun in the midfield, and like you said, and like the clip shows, there were just clear examples of him not covering the ground that he should, or being positionally off. And I've been his biggest defender recently, really, because I'm a big fan of his, but I still feel like the role that he's being asked to fulfill, there's something about it now that just isn't the same as what it was last season. The role that he's being asked to perform. So yeah, when we're being overrun in the midfield, I think you can question him, but he's not the only one.
David?
I was putting my coat on in case, because we were talking about scapegoats, and I thought, fucking hell, if they start blaming me for all this, I'm getting off. But yeah, I think Schneiderlin's is fully deserved, actually. I'm a bit like what Max was saying there. I always find myself I think we all do it, actually, sympathising with someone who's maybe the underdog or who's getting all the stick. You kind of try and have the back a little bit. Well, I think there's two kinds of people. There's people who do that, and then there's the people who jump on the bandwagon. I think I'm someone who likes to try and support them. I think you two would probably come under the same bracket, but I have to say my patience has run out with Schneiderlin because I've seen firsthand the type of performances he's putting in. I think he's completely down tools. I think he is going through the motions. I'm surprised he keeps getting started, and I'm actually sickened that we turned down 20 million in this January transfer window for them. I mean, I thought that would have been an absolutely fantastic out of this situation. We can go and play football somewhere else. We can get nearly all our money back on him. Hasn't worked out, but I think his stick is warranted.
See, I've heard a lot of stories about the 20 million, David. I still don't know what's actually true. I heard that we wanted to sell him for close to that amount, but West Ham wanted just a loan, and that's why we said no to that, and they never offered anything else. And I think that's why it got leaked that we said, oh, he's a quality player, and we said no. You know what I mean? It was very much like the McCarthy thing, and he's part of our family. You know what I mean? Like kind of saving face kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's actually true about that. The idea of possibly turning down Brozovic for him, a straight swap, if that was true. We talked about that last week. Last year I would have said no because I thought Schneiderlin was a solid player. This season, I think it's an offer you at least have to listen to, but I'd have to watch Brozovic more to see if his style fits ours, if it's a little bit more bombing forward, because Schneiderlin doesn't do that. He rarely passes forward, ever, now. So,
just before we move on, I do feel like there's still a player in Schneiderlin, and I think if you kept him and the team turned the form round, I think he would go back to being the player he was. But
we talked about that.
Yeah, but in the same breath, you'll never forget these last few months, will you? And you'll always know he potentially has this attitude issue, and he can go missing when it's not going his way. So I think there's still a player there, but it's certainly there'll be a few cautions going forward with him.
Yeah, David. Last time we were talking about how when things are going well, he seems to thrive, and then when the chips are down, I mean, just imagine you have a friend like that. You know, things are going great in your life, and they're around you, they're high-fiving, they want to hang out all the time. Then you get broken up with by your lady friend, you lose your job. Where's that friend of yours right now? Oh, things are busy at work. You know what I mean? Fair weather stuff. It's the kind of thing you don't really want on a team.
Gerry, are we still talking about Schneiderlin, or have we got some deep underlying issues that we can touch about here?
They're very deep underlying, okay? Very deep. Buried down.
I feel like on a lesser scale, that's like the likes of Mesut Ozil and all them, you know, fantastic plays, but when the going gets tough, you don't really see much of them. But then when it's going well again, they just seem to tear teams apart.
Yeah, I guess we just have to make a decision. Can we find a player with the same class and a better attitude, you know, that we actually want? Or do we take a player that maybe is not as class with a better attitude that maybe won't be whispering to Ashley Williams as he's walking off the field like this?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is Schneiderlin, although he is a good player on his day, he's not an enigma, is he? He's not like, unbelievable, like one of a kind. There's many more who will be as good as him out there, and hopefully with a better attitude. So,
yeah. All right, let's move on. Cuoco Martina. All right, a right back playing left back from Curaçao. Pretty much, I think we all believe that Koeman brought him in on a free, and it was Koeman's choice to bring him in on a free as cover for Seamus. At the beginning of the season, we were like, wow, he goes forward, but he doesn't defend. That's what was happening at the beginning of the season. We're like, wow, he's not bad going forward, but he's shit at defending. And then as the season progresses, he cannot go forward at all, and all he can do is defend, and that's what he's praised for by managers. All right? Weird situation, Cuoco. But you go ahead. You talk about him, Max. I'll finish it up at the end. And
I think it's a classic example of a player at a level that's just too much for him, really. I feel like if you put him in a championship side, I think he'd be a solid. And if you played him in the right fucking position for a start, that, you know, if you played them at right back for a championship side, then I think he'd be, you know, probably be the player that Koeman was after. But yeah, it's again, it goes back to David saying me being the more sympathetic type, but you know, the lad's playing out of position and he's playing in a team where no one else seems to shoulder any form of responsibility. So, you know, we have seen, you know, there's a few crunching tackles that he has put in that makes you go, bloody hell, who else has done that? So yes, I can understand to an extent, because my biggest issue, I think the worst game he has was Tottenham away, where he was just giving Aurier down that side just acres of space.
Yep.
And going forward as well, the way when someone plays a ball that he should hit first time into the box, he always feels the need to drag it onto his right foot, and you feel like you've just killed all the momentum in the attack there. Yep. And it's probably not going to get us anywhere now. They're my two main issues with him. You know, he kills momentum going forward and he leaves acres of space going in terms of defence. But I don't know what else you expect from a player who's playing out of position.
Annoyingly, literally almost word for word, Max just described what I think of Martina. You know, I do think in his position, he can be a solid player, you know, but maybe in the Championship. I think Martina is one of these players that, the game seems to evolve past the type of play they are. So I feel like he would be a great, left back, right back, but he isn't good enough to be a wing back, which is the kind of play that we use now at the elite level. You don't get the flat 4-4-2 anymore. The formations are such variations of different things. So when you're in those positions, you need to be able to attack to a decent level and defend at a decent level. I don't think he's good enough to do that. And I mean, he's definitely not the worst player you've ever seen in a blue shirt, like you'll hear some people say. I mean, I've heard that about numerous players over the years, so I'm not buying that for 1 second. And the only game I remember him being horrendous was that Tottenham game. But yeah, except for that, I think I totally agree. I just think we're higher up level than what he should be playing at week in, week out.
Yeah, what's interesting, I thought when we were getting him, we were getting an athletic player, a player with some explosiveness, and he doesn't have that. He can't, even if he was playing right back, to be able to explode up the side the way you see Coleman, the way you see, I mean, all the great backs, all the great wing backs, the ones who they have that equal push forward to either slice in to try to get goals or to make its way down there and cross something, put something right around the spot. But he's got effort. He tries. And I think he can defend in terms of just trying to keep someone in front of him, and be able to pick their pocket. I mean, he created that first goal against Leicester by ripping Chilwell on the right side. Do what?
Yeah. It just through his closing down, wasn't it? And then that just goes back to, his efforts there. It's just, when he comes up again, as David said, this kind of next level of elite winger. He just with all the the short intricate passing and the footovers and being able to move the ball really quick. He doesn't seem like he can cope with that. And again, it just goes full circle to the point that it's too much of a leap for him, really.
I agree. I mean, I think if we had him filling in for Coleman once every 8 games, that's not bad. If it was in cups, it would be okay. But I don't know that we're not going to need him in a little while because we're going to have Kenny to do that, and Coleman will be healthy.
Mm-hmm. So something that I just want to raise there. So it's kind of a question about once I saw that it was Martina and Kenny in the same lineup against Arsenal. Something that kind of came into my mind. Do you feel like we'd be in the same situation where we're slagging them off every weekend, or saying, "Oh, we need a left back, we need a left back," if we would have played John Joe Kenny at left back instead?
I actually do think you have a point there. I think I had a conversation with a mate at the time. Kenny was the more versatile player. Kenny used to play in midfield for the under-23s. He's literally played everywhere. I think he would have been better suited there, to be honest, but I don't know.
My only guess with the manager's thinking was he's younger, he has less experience in the league, and by saying that, he had hardly any experience in the league. Cuoco had played before, put Cuoco in a position where he's having to, maybe he's played left back at a different, closer to that level. But that's it. I personally, I actually think I would have liked to have seen Kenny there. I will agree with you. Didn't think about it though. That's interesting. How we have not discussed this until now.
It feels like we've pushed the boat out too far to kind of to change it really. Because exactly. And again, it's just like another Evertonian season where you're just full of regret.
Yeah. Let's move on. Ashley Williams. Early on the season, we saw a lot of mistakes from him, just really boneheaded mistakes leading to goals, pissed everybody off. Then he got in a scuffle against Lyon. So what are we thinking about Ashley Williams? David, you want to lead this one?
I think at the start of the year, I thought he was very poor, actually, and he looked finished. I think recent months when he has played, because bear in mind he has been in and out of the team, but in recent months he was probably one half of our best defensive partnership with Holgate, and we seem to chop and change again, and then it's obviously had an effect on him. But I just don't think he's doing any worse than anyone else at the moment. For me personally, he wouldn't be in the top 3 or 4 players I'd be picking out for criticism. Yeah, he hasn't played great and he has been suspect, but so have they all.
Yeah.
This chopping and changing that we keep going on about is just doing nobody favours, and he's one that's suffered because of it.
Max,
I'd echo that really. The amount of changes we made at centre back and just the different selections that we're making obviously is bizarre, and it doesn't do anyone any favours in gaining any consistency. Which we did look like we had at some point with Holgate and Williams, but obviously the manager just doesn't fancy just sticking with that. But I think where the criticism is going to come in for me is the point that we made earlier about leadership, where at time like against Arsenal, he's been the one with the captain's armband, and and at some point he was arguing with Mangala over whether to play a high line or not. I was like, come on, if you're going to be given the honour of captain in Everton Football Club, you need to be able to be the middle ground that can pull people out of the slumps and motivate people, which doesn't look like he's doing. Although it did look like he looked more than capable of doing that when he was at Swansea and for Wales as well. But so that's where my criticism would really come in.
Yeah, I'm worried about attitude for him. There are rumors that he requested a loan away from Everton during the window, and that we said no, or his agent did for him, and that we said no. Same thing with Schneiderlin. And they happen to be two of the ones that are talking and whispering after the game like this. I don't know, guys. I do think he's serviceable. Just don't play him every game. He reminds me of Jags. Just don't play him every game. He's getting older. He can do a job. And that's why I think Sam keeps rotating our center backs, is we've got two that are older. And maybe if they were younger, he could actually start getting some consistency going. But I don't think he's the worst one on the field. I think he can do a job. But again, if his attitude is shit and you notice it, you know what I mean?
Which it shouldn't be as a senior player.
Definitely not.
No. Yeah, we're not talking about a kid, are we?
No.
Nope. He should know better. It's strange. It must be that he just doesn't get along with either Sam or other people in leadership or other players. So
it goes back to this thing while we're touching on leadership, what we said before is there's no squad there, is there? So, there's not one person who kind of everyone looks together. They all have their own little groups, own little clans, and there's no kind of middle ground. So that's why you're seeing these previous leaders not being able to be leaders in that dressing room, because it is so cliquey in there. And I don't even believe this is kind of a theory anymore. I think if you really watch Everton on the pitch and the way they talk in interviews, it's obvious to see that there's not a team spirit there. So I think that would go a long way to explaining why none of these characters can lead it.
Interesting that we're having a problem with leadership when Jags doesn't play very often anymore. It's almost like we need a rock that plays week in, week out, and is almost always there that we can depend on to be our captain, which I'm hoping will be Seamus when he's back, for real. I don't know, though. They may not consider him senior enough. But, I mean, you saw the effect that he had. How do you not give him the armband? How does that not happen? But what do I know? Next, Michael Keane. All right? Confidence sapped. People say rumors that he went to Big Sam's office and said he's low on confidence. I don't know when, but I saw several people on Twitter saying that. And he had a solid game against Leicester. And then yesterday, a lot of people saying he again, shell-shocked is the word that I kept hearing from the American pundits. So So, well, actually, no, hold on. The pundits on American television, because hardly any of them are actually American, because that's the way it works. But so Keane's somebody I still think is a quality player, but he's had some bad games, guys. What do we think about him?
I don't know, because as you say, he really should be one of those players that should be, if he's up with Jagielka or Ashley Williams, they should be learning off. But you could also make the case that if it was Michael Keane and Mason Holgate, Michael Keane should really be the senior figure for Mason Holgate. You know, it's a peculiar one, because how old is he? 24, 25?
I don't know, actually.
So that's it's a strange one, because at the same time, for a centre-half in particular, an England international, you expect leadership to be a natural quality that comes out of a centre-half. And as you say, Gerry, you know, he has had performances where he's looked shell-shocked. So my take on this is to get consistency out of, if you're going to shore up the defence, I think, particularly for Everton now, particularly, again, if Sam's thinking this season's a write-off already, play Keane and Holgate together, because they are going to be the partnership going forward that will be here in a year, 2 year, 3 year. So in terms of this season, yeah, he hasn't played the best, and obviously I think that comes from just playing in a team that's low on confidence in general. But I feel like Keane needs to, because I don't want to say he needs to man up, because I still feel like, you know, he has got potential to be a fantastic player. I think, and I've heard people say, you know, potential captain as well. So, you know, we've got the potential to have a real good defensive unit there, Pickford in goal and 2 English centre-halves. I think they just need to try and buzz off that and try and become solid.
Don't rate him, don't like him.
David, if we could ask you to try to be a little more honest on our program, please.
I think, okay, I'm going to make excuses for him because I've made them for other players who've just come in. I think he's come into an unbalanced team and chopping and changes, managers come and go, and he's had the odd niggly injuries that stop him getting a run in the sides. But I just expected more. I expect more. You know, we're not talking about a 19-year-old. He's 24, 25. I can't remember what he is. I just thought he'd come in and we'd be building a defence around him. And right now, I don't trust him. He seems to have the occasional okay game, but he has a lot of bad games. Yeah, I couldn't tell you his best qualities. He looks slow. He always looks a yard behind. His tackling doesn't look that great. He doesn't look that great in the air. You know, he's had a few chances at the other end as well, where he's put them over the bar when he's been decent chances from the headers. And I just don't like him. I'm not impressed by him. I'm not writing him off at all. I'd love to have my eye wiped, be in 12 months' time, and he's like a John Stones type character for us. But at the moment, I'm not a fan.
I think if a player is low in confidence, the one thing you don't do is play him in a different system that he's not used to against a team that is dominant. Why would you do that? That is such a poor man management decision that I do not understand why he did that. He's clearly low on confidence, but he had a high this past week. He played well against Leicester. He did not. He had one part where I was actually upset with him. Didn't mention this, but I think it was Ndidi who jumped up over him to get that header that hit the bar. All right, Michael Keane should be winning that header every time. Michael Keane is huge. There's no reason why Michael Keane would lose that header. But yeah, he got jumped over. All right, which is a problem. But for the most part, though, he helped shut them down. All right, he did all right. Why on a high? When you got him on a high, throw him into a crap situation. That's just further reason not to use that formation. Anyway, yeah, I think he's better than he shows. When he came to us, he got man of the match a couple of times early in the season, really early.
It's like, you know, I was erring on the side of the caution there because I don't want to write him. I don't want to say that I don't like him because I do see this, you know, this England's international. You know, I've seen her at Burnley, and you know, I watched them at Burnley, and I'm thinking, you know, you've got to almost old-fashioned centre-half there that has got a decent range of passing on him. You know, how often do you see him? You know, sometimes he'll take it down the line, he'll look up and he'll try and play it onto a runner over the top, which, you know, is kind of a trademark of an old-fashioned centre-half. But it just kind of comes back to this. Well, there's so many players that have been brought into this team that just aren't the same style of player, and they just don't seem to be able to gel as a unit.
You mentioned Burnley. Burnley have an identity, and they are the very vision of stability. You know what I mean? They run a similar system almost every game, and they do it every year. You know, so it's a perfect place for a young player to thrive and gradually get confidence. You know, right now, Everton is a shit place to have that happen. You know what I mean? It's not a good place for somebody whose confidence is shaken. I don't know. I'm trying to. We'll go into our bright spots who this actually might be a good place for right now, but yeah, that's going to be a tough segment. So yeah, positives and negatives with Keane. I don't think any of us have flat out pointed at Keane and said it's your fault this season, though. You know what I mean? I do think we expected to have a rock, the way David said. All of us did. A stronger mind, you know. But we're all fragile sometimes. It happens. I heard a lot of people blaming Mangala for the majority of their goals. So, Iliaquim Mangala, that was one game. He played one game after one training session. Are we really, and in a system that we had never played, so nobody else knew what they were doing, are we really going to give this guy some shit?
It's Evertonians, though, isn't it? You know,
God,
we do love a scapegoat, and you know, we love to load someone with all the responsibility. But yeah, you know, you've literally got to break it down like that. The lad has one training session, and then all of a sudden we're playing a system that we're not familiar with. And to be honest, there's not really any system that we're familiar with. You know, we showed hints of a system that we could build on against Leicester, but just didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, to solely blame him. I mean, I seen someone tweet that was the worst centre back debut since Jonathan Woodgate for Real Madrid. I thought, fucking hell, he wasn't that solely responsible for that much, you know.
So do I. Yeah, I've got nothing to add. I don't think it's fair to even talk about him. I don't think he deserves any of it. So, yeah, by the way, I don't think he's that good of a player, if I'm being totally honest, but I just don't think beggars can be choosers at the moment. So, but yeah, once again, he's not another one who was kind of accusing for Saturday.
Yeah, he actually was better going forward than a lot of other people. He was sitting there making runs forward. I'm like, what position are you, man? Like, I know he played striker for a little while earlier in his career, but he actually was weaving in and out. I think he's actually a good signing for Sam if he plays systems where he's supposed to play. You know what I mean? Like, just a bad time to put him in a bad way. Next, a really obvious one, Sam Allardyce. I'm just going to go ahead and chip my 2 cents in and say that his cynical, overly pragmatic approach in which he's trying to make sure that we're safe before anything else, instead of actually believing in his players and trying to go out and take the season by the throat, I think it's a really negative way to approach a season. I don't think he's a dumb guy. I don't think he's stupid. I think he knows a lot. But I don't like the mentality of way he's overly pragmatic. He's too practical.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree. I want to go back to a point that I made, you know, a few weeks ago, particularly when he came out, you know, with the statistics and the X amount of goals means this, X amount of clean sheets mean this. But what my point was it's all well and good that taking that approach when it saves you from relegation, but when you've got other propositions that you can achieve, that becomes a limitation rather than a guideline. If that makes sense, you know, it limits you in what you can achieve, and the fact that he hasn't abandoned that outlook has become a big problem for Everton. And it's what I thought would happen when he was appointed, and it's happening now.
Yeah. When you actually look at it, Everton have never really been that much in what you call a relegation battle. You know, we've been within 6-7 points, and we've been like, oh, this is embarrassing, blah blah blah. To him, he will avoid relegation and say, I've done my job. You know, this is what I do. I come here and I'm a success, and he'll consider it as a successful season, but we won't. You know, that is point blank. It's as simple as that. That's going off your point there, Max. I think you're right. I think he'll just be happy to trot along until we're confirmed mathematically we're not getting relegated, and he'll kind of, you know, rub his hands. Yeah, I've done my bit, like I said I would. You know, what's next? What are we doing next year? And the club's too big for him. And yeah, I think nobody's scapegoating him, because people actually got him on side. He got the fans on side for a couple of games near the start when we were picking up victories, and you know, everyone was giving him support, and he's just absolutely burnt that within a few games, and now it's just woeful.
Yeah, I think the thing that bugs me the most is the fact that he thinks he knows everything. There's nothing to learn. So if a negative thing happens, he doesn't learn from it. He's so arrogant from his many years in football. He doesn't think there's anything else for him to learn. He thinks, look, I have the answers. Everybody else just do what I say.
Yeah.
And that's arrogance.
He absolves himself from any responsibility, which not just in football, in life, no one can do that. People,
that's
you know,
right.
you need to take responsibility for everything that you do, and if you get to a point where you're finding yourself being like, you know, it happened, and you know, we'll see what happens. That's wrong. You shouldn't have that approach. And it's become an obstacle for us now.
All right, Steve Walsh. Do we blame Steve Walsh for this season? Because he's a popular scapegoat. All right.
Well, it's funny, you know, for so long I never, because we talked about him many a time on here, and it was always the benefit of the doubt. But after another window there, just where's his scouting knowledge come into anything? You know, he's bought Walcott, which is a good signing. I'm not taking that away from him, but could the three of us not have made that signing? You know, 20 million to Arsenal for a proven Premier League goal scorer, English, played for Arsenal for X amount of years. You know, there's no tactical scout kind of knowledge behind any of his decisions. He just throws a lot of money at plays that we could probably find ourselves, and a lot of them have backfired on him.
I agree completely. There's not many signings that he's made, with the exception of Idrissa Gueye, I'd say, that make you kind of go, oh, you know, credit to him. Really, you know, there just seems to be a lot of signings where you've gone, right, you can see where they're making waves. You know, like Sandro, you could see him making waves in that. I think it was the Euros, the under-23s Euros. You know, you could see him making waves there. It wouldn't surprise me if someone else would have ended up picking him up, other than if we did. You know, Jordan Pickford is another one.
Yeah.
Captain of Ajax, Swansea's best player. You know, one of the biggest teams in Turkey's main striker. Yeah. You know, it's coming.
Well, here's one, just on Sandro, and here's one thing I didn't see until recently. I don't know if you guys seen the tweet that I done. I just want to give the guy a shout out. Paul Riley, his name is. Have you seen him? He does a lot of stats.
I think I saw the article. I feel like I saw you retweeted something, and I think I read it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic article that was done in the summer when we signed Sandro. As I said, I didn't see it first time round, but he basically looked at the data behind his expected goal, the expected goal metrics, and was like, you know, Sandro isn't going to be the guy that we think we're buying. I'll send you that later if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you know, this guy's really good at what he does, but he's not elite, getting paid a lot of money at a professional football club, as far as I know anyway. And he spotted this straight away. Whereas we've got these high-level scouts who are taking a lot of money from the club, have not kind of delved that little bit deep. It's kind of the mentality that you'd see from maybe an average Joe like ourselves, going, oh, well, he scored X amount of goals last year, he's going to be fantastic. But if you just scratch under the surface a little bit, the warning signs were there that maybe Sandro wasn't going to be playing that we were expecting, and that article's aged really well because he struggled.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something I would think that Walsh would be good at. Typically what he does is he's looking at stats. He's looking at things like that, and he brings players in to play roles, very specific. You're going to play this role. You're going to play this. That's the way I've always understood the way his brain works.
It's bizarre though, because that seems to be the thing that we lack. They're on that pitch. They don't seem to have a distinctive role, and that's where the absurdity comes into it. Is that the players that he's brought in, the role that they seem to occupy within the starting 11, like players aren't even getting in the starting 11. So.
Yeah, and I feel like that's going to happen sometimes with new signings, but this is with a lot of our new signings.
Not to this extent.
Yeah,
this is. I'm very worried that Everton Football Club are turning into the example of what not to do when your club gets investment.
What's on, mate?
Question: you mentioned City having a similar thing happen.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking at going into really, because as time progresses and the state that Everton are in becomes clearer and clearer, I just feel like it'd be worthwhile kind of comparing the two similarities in terms of the investment and what the owners have done in terms of spending that money. Granted, City got this investment before financial fair play was a thing. But yeah, that's definitely something that I'm going to look into doing in the future.
I also think we should look into when a team who normally doesn't have a lot of money gets a huge payday with one of their main players being sold, what it's like to bring that many new players into the fold and how many of them succeed immediately and how many of them flounder.
It's like Tottenham with Bale, isn't
That's
it?
exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly.
The go-to one that everyone talks about.
Yep.
But we didn't think that would be the case, and maybe it is. Maybe we have had too many. So soon.
I just think I just look at like, oh, there's a similar trend. Let's investigate. I never point to it as the obvious evidence. So, last one, guys. Koeman. I think a lot of people point the finger at Koeman for this season because he started us off in such a shit way. All right, and we had to get rid of him, and by the time we got rid of him, the majority of the people that we wanted to bring in as manager, not available. And almost we got in that position where it felt like the board or somebody, Moshiri, felt like they had to bring in somebody like Allardyce. So did he paint us into this corner?
To an extent, I feel like Koeman was the cause of the soul leaving the club, because I've heard from numerous people, Koeman was a very cold character in terms of, when he was in the training ground. He wasn't the most approachable of people, and there was a big wedge between him and Steve Walsh. That's why in the end I did end up giving Steve Walsh the benefit of the doubt, because I thought, hang on a minute, maybe that's just down to differences in the relationship between him and Koeman. So yeah, definitely Koeman does deserve a percentage of the blame, because he kind of kick-started this downward spiral, but we've just had no characters that have come in to be this catalyst, and it's what we desperately need.
David?
I don't know where I stand with Koeman. I suppose to an extent, yeah, but I just feel like Everton's issues are so much deeper now than what I think we thought they were at the time of Koeman going, that I've got a different view on it all now. I think maybe Koeman did play his part, but for example, we expected a new manager would come in and the team would kind of turn around when we changed formation. We had a new, a more likeable guy in there, Unsworth, come in. He's probably the most likeable guy you'll get in terms of football management, and the teams were still getting trounced by absolute shite and putting in terrible performances. So this is the point I was trying to make, where I feel like the team's got off very lightly this year. So I don't know. Koeman definitely had some fault, but I think there's a lot more issues.
Here's something that I didn't think about until just now. You were talking. What if it's none of those? What if it's not a specific person? What if it's the fact that, alluding to what Max was bringing up earlier and going into what you're saying, that it's inexperience, having money, and being in this position, and it's just the kind of thing that's going to happen when you change over from being somebody punching above your weight to being somebody who's forking out the checks. If maybe it's just flat out inexperience, and that's why we're here. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that definitely is a probability, a possibility, even. But I don't know. I mean, I know Mashiri, because in that sense, going back to the AGM, everything seemed to be going in the right direction. You know, like all these, you know, the finances improved dramatically. And you know, something that I picked up on really from the AGM was the fact that, because we don't get much in terms of ticketing in that sense of revenue, that league positioning becomes more vital. And again, like David's saying, that automatically, by the board literally coming out and saying there is a greater importance now on where we finish in that league in that league table, that lumps a big chunk of responsibility onto the players in that sense. So again, that goes down to the coaching staff and the recruitment to bring in the right style of players to fit a system that will achieve a decent enough position to be sustainable. And also
the board to actually make sure it actually happens. Because they can identify players all day long, but if the board doesn't make it happen, you know what I mean?
That doesn't really seem like the case, because you know I think it was Bill Kenwright come out recently and said, you know, there's never been a case where Farhad Mashiri said no. In terms of
I don't know about that. I think he might be kissing his ass a little.
No, I'm not that.
You know, I know I'm just trying to make the point that, you know, it is a difficult, as you know, the reason why we're talking about it, it's hard to pinpoint the reason as to what's been the cause of this. And I seen something on Twitter. Forgive me because I can't remember who tweeted it. It was just like a little a screenshot of quotes. I think the first one was Coleman, and he outlined a 3-year plan.
Yeah, and I remember that.
For the third year should be challenging Champions League, etc. And I think that this is the 2nd/3rd year, and God.
Yeah, I'll round this up on a positive because I feel like we need one. I still believe Everton are crawling in the right direction. I know that sounds crazy.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think this will be a blip in a much more longer. What's the word I'm looking for? A long-term plan. I still think they're going in the right direction. I think it's said a lot secure in the likes of Walcott. You know, I think he'll be a good player for years to come, and I think we are going there. Just, I think I've said this before. Straight line, just zigzagging our way, but I think we will get there.
Yeah,
it's
something that I've said. You know, we were talking the other day, weren't we? And I just said I hope this is the blip in just something that happens when you first get investment. You know, I hope it's a short-term blip in a long-term plan that results in us being successful and challenging for top 6, top 4 league titles. You know, which the name should. Everton Football Club should.
Yeah, if it doesn't continue, that means someone at a high level, or if it does continue, the negative, the losing, the not having the right people, that means someone at a high level is not learning. Someone is not learning lessons and seeing, okay, well, I screwed up here. This is what I'll do differently this time. You have to learn from that process.
In that sense, it should hurt your pride if you're the higher up. Say, for example, if you're Farhad Mashiri and your investment is failing on the pitch, it should hurt your pride, and it should hurt enough for you to look at it and reassess the whole structure. For example, director of football, I feel like that is a very useful role to have, but that needs to be so correct. The man in role needs to be the right man for the job completely, and as time passes by, it becomes more obvious, particularly after that January window. You know, we still haven't got a left back, and Tosin hasn't really hit the ground running, which we all wanted them to do. you know, these errors are becoming more obvious.
I think we need a director of football who has experience being a director of football, who can slot in and walk in. You know, that's the thing. Walsh is learning as he goes, and we didn't really have time for that. You know, I think he's a great scout. I think there's a role for him. I think he can be great with our here at Everton, but he's learning on the fly, and there's a learning curve, and I just think we don't have time for it. We've lost a season.
That needs to be addressed before appointing the director of football becomes a problem. You know, how many? You know, it wouldn't surprise me if we approach people and they turn the job down due to the state that we're in. So
I believe it.
It needs to be addressed. All
right, so we need to wrap this up. This has been absurdly long. If you're digging the videos, please subscribe. Yeah, we'd appreciate it. The support everybody's been giving us by watching our stuff has been awesome. Check out David's stuff, both on the Sportsman, also on the Toffee Blues website. Also check Max's stuff on the Toffee Blues website as well. Yeah, and that's it. We're going to go. We got some more stuff to do. Bye.